What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another update patch notes review. And today we have 11.3. We have it's a bonus balance, by the way, not a regular balance. These ones come in between each main patch notes that usually is 1 point after the so 11.4 will be up next, but we have a bonus balance in between there to sort of fix some of the issues that sort of arise from 11.3, the regular one. So should just be small changes as per usual, but again, if you'd like to take a look at the update patch notes yourself, I will put it in the description down below, so you can take a look at it. But let's try to recap what really specifically changed from 11.3 that made like certain things, that being Sphinx's Bauble OP as shit. There were other changes there, like the small changes, or like the changes with gods, specific gods, having their own like unique spicy changes, if you will, but specifically like items, besides some of the mage changes that made mages a lot better, not really like crazy. Still a lot of ADC mids like Marticarus, AMC, Charon even I've been seeing. So there are a lot of other things that are still a little bit better than mages, I think. So, but specifically Sphinx's Baubles, we'll see how that goes. See if any of the, like, you know, spicy changes from each individual god to their own kit. Let's see if we'll see if there's any you know, reworks, I suppose, of that, or maybe a little bit more. We'll see. But 11.3, this is actually live like right now apparently, or sometime, I don't know, but this is today's April 2nd, and they posted this 10 hours ago, so I'm assuming it's live like right now. But we still got to go over it, right? So, live today, we got our first item, and first and only item, weird. No Sphinx's Baubles. Interesting. I'm assuming there's no items down below because the item section will be here. But we have Bluestone Brew. So this is the upgraded version of Bluestone Pendant. This is the left part of it, not the pink purple one. I don't remember what, I always forget the names, but the one that gives you attack speed and stuff like that. This is the one based on abilities, and it seems to be getting a nerf. Interesting, because this item was like, this is a solo lane item specifically for those ability based gods like King Arthur and Cuckoo are like really good examples of when you would want to build this on a god, but it really isn't being built. You're either going ability based with Warrior's Axe, because it's still a really good item even after it's a nerf by 5 power or whatever. It's just been taking over the meta, because either you're ability based and you go Warrior's Axe and go into Sundering Axe, which just seems to be better. They've been like incrementally buffing the Sundering Axe, or and regular Axe, or you would go auto attack based warrior like a Bellona, a Erlang, Osiris, obviously even Gilgamesh can go into a sort of auto attack based build, and so you were really not picking up Bluestone there. And on the opposite side, you have the upgraded axe for Axe of Animosity, which you would also build there too. So Warrior's Axe is kind of being built on every single warrior. So Bluestone isn't really being picked up much, which is kind of a little weird because it's decreasing current health damage from 12% to 10. But I think with its specific case for mid lane, and you know how the ability based ADCs are pretty good right now, I think Bluestone, that's probably what it is, with Marticarus, AMC building that in the mid lane, still doing that in the mid lane. I'm assuming that's what they're doing. But you know, outside of that, I'm not really sure why they would do this. I mean, even on Uller, this is really good. Uller is super good right now, especially in Joust, for you Joust gamers. AMC and Marticarus are actually seeing an uptick in being played more in Joust too. Their win rates are starting to skyrocket, and if you look on, at least this, I checked this earlier today, if you go on Smite Masters and look at the highest win rated ADC specifically, AMC is actually, I think, #1 right now. And I'm assuming it's just because he's just so good. Ability based, why would you ever go any mage that obviously relies on burst damage, most of them, and do like a lot of scaling damage when you can just go, why would you do that? Because a lot of the items aren't as good as they would be on a god like AMC or Marticarus, as they are very safe gods and can do it with Bluestone. So I'm assuming this is what this is for. I'm thinking, let's read this actually. Bluestone standard upgrade has shot up in popularity among some soul laners, but mostly for physical mid. Okay, so I was right. Slightly nerfing the damage to bring it more in line with its competitors. I suppose it's fine. I mean, maybe they don't want to buff mages too much because they just recently got a buff. Maybe they want to let it go on a little bit more to see. But I think right now mages are better. But obviously, you know, if these gods are ADCs are really good, why wouldn't you just nerf some of the things that make them especially good? And then let's see, let's read this actually. We understand that we've been seeing a discussion around Sphinx's bauble. While some feel it makes certain characters very strong, like me, I think this item is busted on certain gods like Eset, Baron, Kuzumbo. If you've seen my Kuzumbo video, so many gods that use this can be really good. Like even Aphrodite. I played against Aphrodite with baubles, and that shit is so cringe. You can get all the anti-heal in the world. Not gonna do much. So, however, it's definitely been such a huge uptick in purchase rate. We are taking extra time to evaluate in order to get much data as possible to determine. Okay, so we will expect for 11.4, which will be coming in the next couple weeks, I'm assuming, that baubles will either have some type of nerf or rework or some form of change to it to bring it in line to where it's not being bought on every single god. Because if you don't know, baubles is good on like almost any single. I went up against a Discordia, and that shit was super fucking annoying. So. It's definitely an item that needs to be checked, and although it doesn't give great stats, the negative effects that it gave in its passive because of the uptick in cooldown being 50% made it to where there was a caveat. Well, there's no caveat now. It's just like the stats are kind of mid, but like it doesn't really matter when you're throwing out your abilities every 3 seconds. The stats can be dog shit, but if you're just throwing out all your abilities with MP5, with 100 MP5, because it gives you so much MP5 plus your other items that you're probably going to get MP5 from, it doesn't matter what the stats are. The negative stats is actually what makes it sort of in line with like, okay, well, now I have to think about which gods I want to buy this on, where now you just buy it on any, and it's kind of disgusting. So moving on with gods, Charon. This god will always be good in Joust. He got a nerf last patch. It was a small nerf, but Charon specifically in mid and just in general, he's got a high win rate in all game modes. And I initially thought this was the case. He's such a good god. He's so fucking good, and he's always been good in Joust. But in Conquest, he's sort of seen a decrease in a lot of the playability and win rate that he had when they nerfed him a while back. But like I still was always saying, like, Charon is still so fucking good. The only thing Charon doesn't really have, you know, isn't really good with is like the consistent peel. You have his 1 and your 3, but those, although those are super annoying, you can silence and you can also root somebody. They're not hard CC like a Kraken where you can tremble them, or you can, you know, stun them with your 1-2, you know, certain things, hard CC that makes them to where there's like really consistent peel is basically his what makes him stand out from other specific gods. That's kind of like his weakness, but even that weakness is still like shines in a different way, like being able to have a lot of damage and shit like that. So let's see. So they decrease spectral surge. This is one. Decrease trail damage from 8 to 16 to 6 to 14. Keep in mind this is a ticking ability, so instead of getting 16 per tick, it's 14 per tick, which should over amount of time do, you know, a significant amount less damage. On top of the decreased initial hit damage scaling by 10%. Now Charon doesn't really, you know, Guardians don't really rely on that percent, but 10% is still very significant, especially when they rely on their base form. So not as significant as like a mage, for example, would be. Like if this was 10% on a mage, this would be disgusting. But as you can see, okay, get that out of there. As you can see, I mean, it's 55% scaling, whereas mages have upwards of, you know, 100 more, close to it, if not more. So still will do a decent amount here, along with the decreased flat damage. Damnation is his 2. You get shields off that. Increased cooldown from 14 to 12 to 16 to 14. So a whole 2 seconds off, which is very good. I mean, the spamability with this god, especially when you have baubles or anything with a lot of cooldown items, like Glad Shield, for example. I mean, he just throws out abilities. That's one of his, and that's kind of, he plays like a mage, honestly. He just doesn't do that much damage, but I mean, when you spam out abilities, I mean, it doesn't do a lot of damage compared to like mages. He does a fuck ton of damage for like guardians and shit like that. But because you can spam out your abilities with its quick cooldown, it's really annoying. Swift Voyage is 3, decreased damage from 80 to 280 to 65 to 265. I mean, this does a lot of base damage too. I mean, all of his abilities do a lot of base damage, and they're very easy and very easy to understand and very easy to hit. So I think this is great. This is like I think the third nerf that he's gotten. This one is very significant, and I like this. As much as Charon is fun, I love seeing Charon on my team. I need this guy to get the fuck out of this meta, man. At least in Joust. Conquest, it doesn't matter too much to me, but Charon's so fucking disgusting. Any nerf to him that brings him down from the #1 win rate in Joust is good for me. Kuzumbo, interesting, another god that's really good in Joust. So he is getting, I'm imagining because of let's just read it. So shell spikes, shifted cooldown reduction per hit from 0.5 to 1.3 to 0.6 to 1. Okay, so when you initially get your 2, you actually have 0.1 second, because if you don't know, shell spikes, whenever you get hit, it reduces all of your cooldowns except I think your ult. And so you could use your 2, you could use your, let's hypothetically say you have all your abilities up. You can use your 1 and it's on cooldown for like 10 seconds or whatever. And if you use your 2 and you get hit while your 2 is up, then it actually reduces your cooldowns of all of your abilities except your ult, I think. So it actually works really well with baubles, and you can make it to where you can constantly cycle through your abilities with your 2 up. So instead of 0.5 seconds per hit, it's 0.6 per hit. And now the later it goes though, so initially you'll have 0.1 second more, so it's like a buff on your first like point you level it up in. But as you start to level it up, it actually doesn't, so instead of 1.3 seconds per hit, it's now 1 second per hit, which is 0.3 seconds less per hit. So that does add up. So overall, I think this is a buff early game, nerf late game. Which I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's good. Well, no, I do think it's good because Kuzumbo late game is disgusting. Sumo Slam increased cooldown from 12 seconds to 14 seconds, which is obviously a nerf, which is good because Kuzumbo has been seeing some play in Conquest. Not too much, but I've seen a decent amount of Kuzumbos with the baubles, and it's really annoying. And then obviously Kuzumbo in Joust is always busted, so this is always good for me. Odin. So this was one of the gods that got an interesting kit change to where his 3 no longer 3, so you use your 3 and it ticks 3 times. Now it only ticks 2 times with the change, and they got rid of the second qualifier in its second part of the 3, if that makes any sense, to where it would automatically lock on to somebody and hit somebody. They got rid of that, so now it's either attack speed on your on your first pulse of your 3, whereas the second one is a stun for your second pulse. But he's been really good with baubles as well. Having infinite shields, who would have guessed it, is really fucking good. So Gungnir's Might, that's his 3. Decreased pulse damage from 45 to 165 to 35 to 155, which is good. Odin's been very fucking good as well. Who would have guessed it? Buffing baubles and then also making Odin just have a better kit would make him go up to the meta, because he was initially like a mediocre pick. But it was a big enough change to where now he's a really solid pick. And even bannable. Decreased Gungnir damage from 60 to 300 to 55 to 275. So keep in mind, this is the pulse. So this is per pulse, which means that it's actually reducing by 10 damage if you do 2 pulses. But if it's just 1 pulse, you want to use your first initial pulse, then it's only 5 damage. I'm sorry, 20. It's 20 with 2 pulses and 10 for 1 pulse. So but the decreased Gungnir damage from 60 to 300, now it's let's see, so it does scale up a little bit. So 5 damage initially, it's changing to, and then once you level up to max, which you're usually leveling up first, that or your shield, really depends on what you want to do, you're actually getting rid of 25 damage the later you level it up and the later the game goes. So it's small, it's a pretty decent change though. I still think Odin's going to be really good until those bauble changes happen. Marticarus, there we go. And AMC, holy shit, who would have thought? This is actually good, and actually all the game modes I care about, that being Conquest and Joust. So Marty is, yeah, still cannot figure this man out. Marty was actually for a long while just flatlining, to where they nerfed him so much that now it's just like he's kind of not like bad, but he's just definitely not. He's like a shell of his former self, which is good because he was fucking disgusting. One of the best gods in the game, if not the best god in the game at some point. And with the cooldown bluestone mid laner type build that we've been seeing due to mages not being the greatest, this makes sense, increasing cooldown from 100 seconds to 110. Let's see, one of the strongest physical mid laners at the moment. So yeah, making his ult a lot longer, increasing his cooldown is fine by me. Every time I go up against this god, very similar to Yu Huang, he's the safest god in the game. He's up in his ult for like 5 seconds or damn near close to it. He throws his abilities out a mile away, has a 3 for him and his teammates to hide and go seek fucking with, and he can still have access to beads Aegis. So there's a lot of things you have to calculate in your brain before you're gonna be like, did he ult? Okay, his ult's down. Wait, let me look. Does he have a lot of cooldown? Obviously he does. He's a Marty. He's 40% cooldown. It's probably up by now. Oh yeah, he still has beads, even if it is. You know, it's just, so there's so many things. So the longer the ult, it's fine by me. AMC increased cooldown from 10 seconds to 12 seconds, very similar to Marty. Them just spamming out their abilities is what makes them really good, along with their scaling with the ability-based builds. Cuckoo is getting another change in nerf. I'm assuming a nerf, right? Cuckoo's still fucking good, man. I don't know what's happening. This is like his 4th nerf. He's still fucking good. They buffed him like initially a while ago, and then they just kept slowly buffing him, if I remember, and then now they're slowly nerfing him back. Like, wait a second, I think we cooked too much. So let's see, even with the nerfs he received alongside the quality change 11.3, this serpent hasn't been ever resistant to nerfs. Yes, it has. He has. Whirlwind, this is his 3. Increased cooldown from 14 to 10 to 14 to 12. One thing with Cuckoo is that it is kind of hard if you want to min-max the way he plays to build cooldown on him. So a lot of times the cooldown you'll get is from Spirit Desolation and Staff of Mirrodin. Other than that, other items like Chronos, it just doesn't fit the build. If you want to have, because his passive stacks with mana, so max mana you have, more power you get. So Book of Thoth is like one of your core items on him. That's why. Other items like Soul Reaver and Poly are other items you want to pick, but they don't have cooldown. So that takes up like 4 parts of your, I mean, you still have Sands of Time too. But if you wanted to get more percent pen and everything, Mirrodin's really your only option. Spirit Deso if you want flat pen, but a lot of the times there's not enough room. And so a lot of the times what I will do is I'll get the Sands of Time upgrade, Pendulum of the Ages. I think, yeah, because alternate time, Pendulum of the Ages gives you 20% cooldown, which doesn't allow you to get alternate timeline. But so a lot of this is pretty short cooldown, considering that you, for at least the build that I go, you don't really buy a lot of cooldown on him. And if you were to buy a lot of cooldown, that's also, yeah, this is still not going to be too much of an issue, I don't think. The fact this was on 90-second cooldown is disgusting. I always forget like the timers for each individual cooldown for each individual god, because there's like over 100 and getting close to, we're eclipsing 150 soon, very soon. So I didn't remember this was fucking 90 seconds. This is crazy. 100 seconds, 10 seconds. He's still going to be very good. He's a brain dead. Throw down your Nado, use your 1 poly, they're dead. And if they're chasing you, just ult, use your 2, run away. So very, very brain dead god. And I don't think it's going to change too much. It's going to make him a little less hard to play. It's going to make him a little harder to play, sorry. Because you have to bounce your cooldowns more often, but still very good. Thana. So this is specifically in Conquest. Thana has been good since the beginning of this year. And I think it's just the bloated stats that he has. And kind of been one of those gods that really needs the beginning early game to go get off on. And if you don't, and you don't like farm them for free, then you kind of are stuck, because he's a very early game snowbally type god. But that kind of didn't really change much with this season so far. He kind of just does what the fuck he wants whenever he wants. And even if he's behind, can still do a fuck ton of shit. This is his second or third nerf. This is his 2, decreased movement speed and bonus movement speed from 10 to 30 to 8 to 24. So you're actually losing 2 right out the gate, and then you're losing 6% overall. So it's a pretty decent amount. I mean, this and his passive makes him so fucking fast, and because you're jungler, you always most likely have your speed. So he's always fucking zoomy. And yeah, I'm not opposed to this. And then his ult, Hovering Death, increased cooldown from 90 seconds to, okay, so now it has it was always 90 seconds, now it has a staggered approach where it'll eventually get to 90 seconds, but you start out with 110, making his early game a little less A little less good, in my opinion. You're not going to have your ult up, be safe whenever you want, and ult away, which is good. Thanatos has been one of my gods that I've been banning along Thor, Odin, and shit like that. So, it won't kill him either, but definitely make him a little bit worse. Obviously, not too much of a big change. And I think that's it with Bake Kojira. This god I have not seen in a while. I'm gonna be honest. That doesn't mean he's not good, but I haven't been seeing a lot of bans. Haven't been seeing him played a lot. So I'm not entirely sure why we have this here. Maybe you have to look at Smite Masters. I've not been paying attention to this god. So maybe it's a buff. Hold on. Decrease basic attack damage from... Okay, it's not a buff. Actually, let me just read this. Decrease basic attack damage from 25 to 18. Obviously, this god relies on auto attack damage. So that actually kind of got some... that actually got some a lot. That's... what is that? That's 7 damage per auto. Ouchies. Increase basic attack damage per level from 1.5 to 1.8. This does mean that, okay, so I guess there's a trade-off. You actually do get a little bit more damage as you scale up. Which overall I think is a nerf still. 0.3. So what is that? That's 3 extra damage if I'm doing that right. No, 30. If it's 0.3 difference, 0.3, maybe is it? Hold on, I have to do the math here. Okay, so it's 6 extra basic attack damage. That's being increased from. So you'll get 6 extra damage per once you get level 20. Not the greatest. But yeah, I think that's probably definitely a little bit of a nerf. Rough Waters, increase cooldown from 12 seconds to 14 seconds. It's very short cooldown, specifically with this 2 being able to get rid of some cooldowns as well, I believe. Twisting Dive, decrease dash damage from 80 to 240 to 60 to 240. So your initial early game bully, lane bully type god that he is won't be as much anymore. He's still gonna be very good, I think. I think he's just a solid pick at this current state. He's not like busted. He wasn't, in my opinion, that busted to begin with. I think he maybe needed like a tiny tune-up, but like banning him, at least in Joust specifically, and Conquest a little bit, I think was a little overrated. He definitely is a little overrated, or he was, and now he's just kind of just an okay pick, not the greatest in my opinion. And so this nerf is going to make it a little bit, make him a little bit worse, but I think he's in a fine spot. This does have a pretty big impact on him though, but that is everything. 11.3 bonus balance. Not a lot of changes here, but the core changes of that mid lane, trying to get rid of that mid lane hunter type and Cuckoo, because Cuckoo was always the other god, so safe. Trying to get rid of that is what they're trying to do here, and I think it's very good. Charon and Kuzumbo, who obviously are in the mid lane as well, besides Kuzumbo, although I don't know, maybe he is he's in the mid lane. But especially with Baubles, makes these guys very good, so it does make sense. Same thing with Bluestone with the mid lane. So very short patch notes, as they usually are for a bonus balance. If there's a long bonus balance, that means something really went wrong in the initial changes that they made in the previous update. So not too much to talk about. If you think that I may have missed something, or you have an opinion of your own, may say something I actually looked over, some type of interaction maybe, let me know. Again, the URL will be in the description down below, along with the Discord if you haven't joined already. A lot of you have joined, which is nice, seeing you pop in, talking in the chat, looking for games, asking questions, doing all that good stuff. That's what the Discord's for. So join down below. But I think that's basically everything that I have for you. Like, comment, and subscribe. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching.